Hello everybody and welcome to another Let's Write video with Mr. Lou. Today's video is going to be another one that's pre-writing. And pre-writing is everything that you do before you write. And this one is going to be called the Iceberg. And today in this video I'll be joined with a white piece of paper and my pen. So I'll put Let's Write in a cloud because that's how I roll. And I'm going to start by drawing a diagram today. And the diagram is, as you can imagine, going to be an iceberg. So let's see how successful I can be in this. Of course, I have a growth mindset, so I am not a professional artist, but I do value, here we go with some water. All right. And the thing about icebergs that is significant, especially if you are on a vessel such as the Titanic, is that most of the iceberg is under the water. That is, most of the iceberg cannot be seen. And, that's something you want to keep in mind when you're out there on the ocean navigating a large ship, like I'm sure many of you will be someday. We have got a very high proportion of our learners here at our school go on to become ship's captains. And this is, also be careful because it can be kind of an odd shape under there. What you see above the water might be something like this, and what you don't see below the water is much larger. So when you're navigating with your ship, always look out for that. Now, as you can imagine, we're not just talking about navigating ships, we're really talking about writing an essay. So what is above the water is what you're going to actually write for your essay. What I've constructed right here, by the way, just because we're learning, is what's called a visual metaphor. And a metaphor is when you take two things that wouldn't necessarily fit together and you make them fit together because there's something really powerful in the way that they fit together. So here, the two things that we've combined for our metaphor are an iceberg and what we would call like the writing process. I'm going to call it the writing thinking process because the two are really closely related. So you will be writing an essay for this project, and some of you might have already started, but what we're doing in class right now is all of the things that we would say are under the waterline. So your essay that you produce is going to be read. It's something that someone can read and understand. Oh, that's way better. That's your essay. It has a lot of requirements, right? We know that it's going to be a certain number of words. But more important than the essay, and I'm going to say this, even more important than the essay is all the stuff that goes into writing the essay, everything that's below the waterline. And that's what you're working on right now so hard with all of your reading, the discussions in your groups, and what are you learning? What you're gaining, and I'm watching you do this. It's so satisfying for me to watch you do this because what you're gaining is a deep understanding of what that word equality means. Right? It's not simple. It's not just a word. It's not just something that you can read in a dictionary and go, oh yeah, equality. That means being equal. I can tell from your discussions that what's happening is you're starting to realize you're developing what we would call a sophisticated understanding of this word equality. An understanding that, no, it's not simple. And that in fact, part of the word is a battle between different people about what the word means. And you're going to put this into your essay. You're also developing an understanding of what quality academic writing is. And you're doing this by reading some fine examples, about 15 of them. And you're not just reading them, you're also annotating, you're also discussing. That is going to be one of the things that influences what your essay is. You're also starting to develop or continuing to develop an understanding of what U.S. history is, the timeline of U.S. history. How does each event impact and fit in with other events? Another thing that's going to be beneath the surface of your writing. You're also developing an understanding of what those National History Day guidelines are. I'll just put two because it's really the guidelines and it's the theme that you're starting to develop. You're starting to talk about it. You're starting to get a better understanding of it. That, too, is going to be something that influences and shapes your final essay. Now, once you decide which leader you're going to focus on, you're going to have a lot of information about your leader that doesn't make it into your essay. In fact, your hard thing is going to be selecting which pieces of information you do put in your essay. Good writers always have much more to draw on. So what are your leaders' struggles? How do they fit into history? And what's their personal biography? And what kind of stories about them are worth telling? These are the things you're starting to understand and develop about your leaders. And they might remain under the surface, but just like a ship's captain will tell you, what's under the surface really has an impact on what's above the surface. You're also going to be developing, and I'm going to do some workshops on this, going to be developing a more sophisticated understanding of what an academic argument is. Because no one has to believe you just because you're you. I like you. I think you're smart. But if you're going to convince me of something, you have to prove it. And this is how we prove things for our readers. We construct an academic argument. An academic argument is going to have a research question. It's going to have a thesis. It's going to have evidence. It's going to have all these components. It's going to have analysis of that evidence. And I'll do some more workshops on these. But you have all these understandings that might be beneath the surface. So in other words, there's a ton of thinking that happens before your essay is constructed. And that is the iceberg metaphor. And I would encourage you, and I might even require you at some point, to construct an iceberg like this on your specific essay. So my iceberg, I think I've talked about Duke Ellington. Up here I'd have a Duke Ellington essay, but what are all the things that I've learned about Duke Ellington and writing the essay that are going to be beneath the surface, that are going to influence what I actually create? And as I said, this is what you're doing every day in class, and you continue to make progress on this. You will find that when you write your essay, it's not a matter of can I write as many words, to fulfill the requirements. It's, what am I going to have to select from what I know to make the best essay possible?